Hi, I'm Alyssa, a dietitian for the Health Promotion Service at South Western Sydney Local Health District. Today I'm going to talk about some of the important things to consider when packing a school lunchbox for young children. So, how do you decide what to pack? Well, the Australian Guide to Healthy Eating is a great starting point. This guide was developed by the Australian Government and updated in 2013. It is a guide that gives us advice about the amounts and the types of foods that we need to eat every day for good health. Foods are grouped together because they provide similar amounts of the key nutrients for that food group. So, to meet our nutrient requirements, we need to eat a variety of foods from each of the 5 food groups every day. Now, this image shows us the quantities that we need each day. So children, just like adults, need to eat enough, but not too much from each of the 5 food groups. I will give you a link at the end of the presentation so you can access this handout. It's available in English as well as 11 other community languages. Most children start school at the age of 4, 5, or about to turn 6. So let's have a look at one of the food groups using this handout so we can see how much our school-age starters might need to eat. This will help us plan what to put in the lunchbox, but also it reminds us which foods we need to include for those out-of-school meals like breakfast, afternoon tea, and dinner. I have just zoomed in on the top of this handout. You can see the information for the vegetables and fruits group. The first important thing to look at is how we define 1 serve of vegetables and how we define 1 serve of fruits. So, the pictures show that 1 serve of vegetables is defined as half a cup of cooked vegetables. These could be fresh, frozen, or canned. 1 serve could also be half a medium potato, or it could be 1 cup of salad vegetables. Now, if we look at the table on the other side of the handout, we can look up how many serves your child needs each day. So for children aged between 4 and 8 years, you can see they need about 4.5 serves each day. 4.5 serves could look something like this. Some chopped vegetables, half of this potato, 1 serve of broccoli, a small can of baked beans, and some salad. Now let's look at the fruit group. You can see that 1 serve of fruit is defined as 1 medium piece of fruit, or 1 cup of diced fruit, or 2 small pieces of fruit. So some examples of fruit serves could be 1 medium piece of fruit, 2 small pieces of fruit, 30 grams of dried fruit, or 1 cup of diced pieces. A child aged 4 or 5 or 6 years of age only needs 1.5 serves of fruit each day. Many children eat more than this, but they don't eat enough vegetables. So I like to encourage children to snack on vegetables instead of fruit. There are loads of great vegetable options like cucumber, cherry tomatoes, carrots, celery, capsicum, and even sweet corn. I won't go through all of the serve sizes of the other food groups. You can look at these when you download the handout. But I will show you the number of serves that a child aged 4 to 8 years needs each day from each of the groups. So, we looked at the vegetables group and we know they need 4.5 serves each day. We know that they need 1.5 serves each day from the fruits group. For the grains group, they need 4 serves. From the meat and alternatives group, they need 1.5 serves. And from the dairy and alternatives group, they need 1.5 to 2 serves each day. So let's shift our minds now and think about the meals that children eat over a typical school day. When children are at school, they would normally eat recess and lunch. Many schools as well have an extra short break for fruits, vegetables and water in the classroom, which is called crunch and sip. So you can see that children eat about 1/2 to 1/3 of their daily food intake when they're at school. I like to think of each meal as a puzzle piece or an opportunity to include some of the things from the food groups that we looked at earlier. We can then plan to include whatever food groups aren't covered in the school lunchbox in our home meals. So let's look at some ideas of things you could pack in the lunchbox, starting with crunch and sip. Crunch and sip is a great opportunity to encourage your child to eat vegetables. A 5-year-old needs 4.5 serves of vegetables every day, so packing vegetables for crunch and sip can easily get 1 serve of veggies in. It also helps to build healthy snack habits in the long run. Try and make your child's crunch and sip something that is easy to eat in 5 to 10 minutes. It can be whole or cut fruit or vegetables. And don't forget to include a filled water bottle too. Children don't usually have time in these breaks to access the water bubblers or water bottle refill stations. Now let's look at recess. When packing recess, I like to include a grain food, preferably whole grain or wholemeal, as this helps to keep their tummies fuller for longer, along with either some fruit, a dairy food, or a protein source. Some great ideas could be cheese with whole grain crackers, wholemeal pita bread with hummus, or a sushi roll, or even a small serve of dinner leftovers that can be enjoyed cold, like fried rice. Recess should be something that is easy for your child to eat in 10 to 15 minutes. Now let's look at lunch. Just like recess, I like to include a grain food, along with a protein source and a dairy source too, if you can. Some examples of lunches could be sandwiches, wraps or rolls, dinner leftovers that can be eaten cold, such as pasta salad, meatballs, chicken drumsticks, vegetable fritters, or savoury baked slices like quiche. When packing lunch, make sure it's easy for your child to eat in about 15 minutes. Another thing we always need to pack is a full water bottle. Our bodies are made up of approximately 60% water, and we use water to help digest food and remove wastes from our body. We also lose water through sweating, going to the toilet, and breathing. So we need to replace the water we lose to allow our body to continue functioning properly. Water is also the healthiest drink to quench thirst. Having drinks with added sugars, such as soft drinks, cordials, fruit drinks, vitamin waters, energy drinks, and sports drinks can increase the risk of tooth decay and weight gain in children and adults. The amount of water needed varies for each person depending on how much activity they do and their health. But as a guide, a 5-year-old needs about 5 cups of water each day. In Australia, fluoride has been added to the drinking supply in very small amounts because it helps to protect the tooth enamel, which is the outer layer of the teeth. Bottled water does not have added fluoride. Tap water is inexpensive and it doesn't add any energy to your diet. While it's not necessary, if you prefer, you may boil your tap water and it will not affect the fluoride content. Milk is also a good choice of drink, as it provides important vitamins and minerals. If you are packing milk in your child's lunch, Remember to use a UHT popper like this. These can be kept safely out of the fridge in line with the best before date on the package. I have always found this lunchbox checklist really handy. It helps me to check that I've included the right things in the lunchbox. Try to include 1 to 2 serves from each of the food groups in the lunchbox daily. I will give you a link at the end of the presentation so you can access this handout. It is also available in English as well as 11 other community languages. We've talked a lot about the foods that we should include in the lunchbox. Now a quick note about those that we should keep for home. The foods that you see on the bottom of the Australian Guide to Healthy Eating are the sometimes foods. We recommend that you only eat these occasionally. These foods don't tend to fill kids up, and they take the place of a healthy food that their bodies really need. Some schools have children with allergies to certain foods such as nuts or eggs. So it's important to check with your child's school whether or not these foods are allowed in the lunchbox. Okay, now let's talk about some practical considerations. When my son was starting school, he found it a bit daunting. What did he eat? When should he eat? So my advice to you is to keep it as simple as possible. Most children can't read yet when they are starting school. So I have found that numbering their food containers with a whiteboard marker or using brown paper bags and packing their food into that with numbers on them can help them to understand which food should be eaten at which meal break. Use packaging that is easy for children to open, like these. These sandwich wraps are really easy with Velcros. Cling wrap is really tricky for little fingers to open, and it's also not good for the environment. Remember to prepare food so that it is quick and easy to eat. So cut up sandwiches and have fruits and vegetables prepped and ready to go. Keep serves small and limit choice. This will make it easier for your child to eat and more likely that they will eat what you have packed. In the early days at school, it's not uncommon for a lot of food to come home in the lunchbox. This is because your children are so excited and busy at school playing with their new friends. Eating is not always their top priority. It is completely normal as well that they will come home feeling pretty hungry. So don't take this as a sign that you need to pack more in their lunchbox. They will settle into a routine and you can ask them if they need more or less food. Or if you're worried, have a chat with their teacher. Also, remember to use an ice brick and an insulated cooler bag, like these, to help keep lunches cool. And if you are packing foods like yogurt or cheese, include them in the first meal break so they don't end up warm by the time your child is eating them. Protect soft fruit like bananas or peaches. I like to use a little bit of wax paper and then pop them into a hard container like one of these. Choose an appropriate lunchbox. I prefer ones that don't expose all the food at the one time, like this, as kids are often eating in the playground and accidents can easily happen where the lunchbox is knocked and they can end up losing all the rest of their food for the day. In the lead up to school, it is good to give your child their morning tea, lunch and snacks in their lunchbox so that they can get used to eating the foods from their lunchbox and you know that they can open the food containers you've used. And most importantly, ask yourself, would you eat it? Pack foods that keep well. Try baby spinach leaves instead of lettuce that can go soggy. And use tomatoes as a snack instead of in sandwiches where they can soak into the bread. Get your child involved in packing their lunchbox. This way, they will be more inclined to eat the food, and as they get a little older, they can start to prepare their own lunches. So, just to summarise, use the Australian Guide to Healthy Eating as your basis to planning a lunchbox. Remember, there's normally 3 meals at school: crunch and sip, recess, and lunch. Foods should be quick and easy to eat. Remember to pack tap water as a drink. Keep your lunchbox cool. Healthy eating doesn't stop at school. And avoid packing a treat food every day. That brings us to the end of the presentation. I hope you found this information useful, and here are the links to the 2 resources that I used in the presentation. Thank you for joining me today.